I want to walk you through this simple architecture. We want to have a JavaScript client, and we'll write code that opens a WebSocket connection. Through that WebSocket connection, the data will be sent to the AWS API gateway. Of course, we need to configure the API gateway to accept WebSocket connections. But don't worry, you'll see that this is not hard at all. And after that, the API gateway will forward the request to AWS Lambda. We'll handle all the Python processing in Lambda and send the result back to JavaScript through the API gateway. So the very same logic, but in reverse. It's important to configure API gateway to accept WebSocket connections because WebSockets allow the backend, Lambda in this case, to send data to the frontend. Why do I like this architecture? Because it's extremely cheap and it's totally realistic to say you will spend $0 on this project. Lambdas are not the cheapest option if you have a lot of invocations, but for our use case, Lambda is a great choice. Let's talk about permissions. Why? Because in the AWS world, anything you want to do requires giving the service the right permissions. First, this Lambda will have the AWS Lambda basic execution role. This is a standard role that almost every Lambda has. For example, it allows the function to write logs to CloudWatch logs. Also, we mentioned that our Lambda will send data to the API gateway, which means it will invoke AWS API gateway. Guess what? Lambda needs a role in order to be able to do this. It's the AWS API gateway invoke full access role. That's it for the theory. Let's dive deeper and implement all of this.